Markle has never been a member. I don't know if she's become a member now, but she had been working for Soho House since at least 2005.
She arrived in London, full career, single girl, wasn't interested. Of course, she'd been coming to London since 2013, hunting for a man to marry. She wanted an Englishman. She was on a
It was planned from the beginning. She denied being interested in the royal family, which she totally was. I know someone who knows the ex-husband who said she had a vision board with Prince Harry on it.
Wasn't there some speculation that she was on Epstein's yacht at one point in time? There was like photos with her and Prince Andrew way back in the day when she was like in her early 20s.
Just when many royal watchers believed the latest chapter in the Sussex story had begun to settle, a new wave of online discussion has once again placed Prince Harry and Meghan Markle at the center of global attention. This time, the conversation focuses on renewed public interest in Meghan's long-discussed connections with Soho House and the way those connections have become a trending topic across social media and royal commentary channels. Within hours, supporters, critics, journalists, and royal commentators began offering very different interpretations. Some argued that the renewed attention was simply another example of old stories resurfacing in the fast-moving world of social media. Others believed the discussion highlighted how every aspect of Harry and Meghan's past continues to attract extraordinary public curiosity. What makes this latest debate particularly interesting is that it is no longer centered solely on Meghan or Harry individually. Instead, it has evolved into a broader conversation about public perception, media narratives, and the challenges of living under constant global attention. For years, Harry and Meghan have remained among the most closely watched public figures in the world. Every interview, documentary, business venture, charitable initiative, and public appearance has generated headlines. As a result, even older topics can quickly become trending conversations when they are rediscovered or discussed by commentators online. Some observers believe this reflects the enduring fascination with the Sussex story. Others argue it demonstrates how digital media rewards familiar narratives that audiences already recognize. Whatever the explanation may be, one thing has become increasingly clear. The latest discussion is growing rapidly. Opinions are becoming more divided. And many royal watchers believe this could become another major chapter in the ongoing public conversation surrounding Harry, Meghan, and the royal family. But why do stories connected to the Sussexes continue resurfacing years later? Why do audiences remain so invested? And what does this latest debate reveal about the relationship between celebrity, public image, and modern media? According to many analysts, the answers may be far more complicated than anyone expects. Because while headlines come and go, the broader Sussex narrative continues evolving, and every new discussion seems to raise even more questions than the last. That is exactly where today's story begins. To understand why this latest online debate has attracted so much attention, it is important to first understand why stories connected to Meghan Markle's past continue resurfacing years after she married Prince Harry. According to many royal observers, the answer is straightforward. The Sussex story has never really stopped evolving. Every interview, every documentary, every public appearance, every business venture, every charitable initiative, each new chapter encourages audiences to revisit earlier moments from Meghan and Harry's public lives. Because of that history, even discussions about past professional or social connections can quickly become major topics of conversation online. Many commentators believe this is exactly what happened here. As older reports and discussions about Meghan's association with Soho House began circulating again on social media, audiences immediately started offering different interpretations. Some people viewed the renewed attention as nothing more than another example of older stories returning to public discussion. Others believed it reflected the extraordinary level of interest that continues surrounding Harry and Meghan. Neither interpretation has disappeared. And because both continue attracting support, the conversation has continued growing. What makes the situation particularly interesting is that much of the debate is not actually about new information. Instead, It is about how existing public narratives continue evolving. Many media analysts believe this has become one of the defining characteristics of modern celebrity coverage. A familiar topic reappears. People rediscover it. Commentators offer fresh perspectives. Audiences compare old discussions with current events. Before long, a conversation that began with archived material becomes one of the most talked about subjects online. The current debate appears to illustrate that process perfectly. Some observers focus on Meghan's public journey before joining the royal family. Others focus on how her life changed after becoming the Duchess of Sussex. Still others examine why older stories continue attracting attention years later. Each perspective creates a different conversation. And because multiple conversations develop simultaneously, public engagement continues increasing. Many royal analysts believe this broader context explains why Harry and Meghan remain among the most discussed public figures in the world. People are not simply following individual headlines. They are following an ongoing story that has unfolded over many years. A story involving family, public life, media attention, business ventures, personal reinvention, and changing public perception. That larger narrative gives every renewed discussion additional significance. Meanwhile, social media continues accelerating every stage of the process. An older article is shared. A video goes viral. Commentators respond. Content creators publish analysis. Thousands of people begin debating what the renewed attention means. Many observers believe this environment has fundamentally changed how royal stories develop. Stories no longer disappear when the news cycle ends. Instead, they can return months or even years later, often reaching entirely new audiences. That reality appears especially relevant in the current discussion. Some audiences believe the renewed interest reflects genuine public curiosity. Others believe it demonstrates how online platforms repeatedly amplify familiar topics because they generate engagement. Both explanations continue attracting support. Both continue shaping public perception. And both continue driving discussion. As the debate expands, many royal watchers are beginning to focus on an even larger question. Not simply why this particular topic returned to the spotlight, but why the broader Sussex story continues producing extraordinary global interest after all these years. According to many commentators, answering that question may reveal far more about modern media and audience behavior than about any individual headline. Because while specific stories eventually fade, public fascination with Harry and Meghan continues evolving. And right now, that fascination appears as strong as ever. The question is whether future developments will finally change the conversation, or simply create another chapter in one of the world's most closely followed royal stories. Every public appearance, every business announcement, every charitable initiative, each new development encourages audiences to revisit earlier chapters of the story. Because of that ongoing evolution, older topics often return to public discussion whenever commentators or online communities connect them to current events. Many observers believe this explains why renewed conversations can spread so quickly. People are not simply reacting to past events. They are comparing the past with the present. They are asking how public perceptions have changed. They are wondering whether earlier discussions should now be viewed differently. Those questions naturally generate engagement. The current debate appears to demonstrate this reality perfectly. Some commentators believe the renewed attention reflects the Internet's tendency to recycle familiar topics that already attract large audiences. Others argue that it demonstrates how closely the public continues following Harry and Meghan's journey. Neither interpretation has disappeared. And because both continue attracting support, the discussion has continued expanding. What makes the situation particularly fascinating is the role public expectations now play in shaping audience reactions. People rarely approach Sussex stories without prior opinions. Some admire the couple's efforts to build an independent life outside the royal family. Others remain critical of decisions they have made over the years. Many simply follow the story out of curiosity. These different viewpoints influence how audiences interpret every renewed discussion. Many analysts believe this explains why a single topic can produce dozens of completely different conversations. Some people focus on media coverage. Others focus on public image. Some discuss reputation. Others examine how online platforms influence public opinion. Each perspective creates its own narrative. And because those narratives develop simultaneously, public engagement continues growing. Meanwhile, social media continues accelerating every stage of the process. An older interview is shared. A previous article is rediscovered. A commentator references an earlier event. Audiences respond immediately. Content creators publish analysis. Thousands of people begin debating what the renewed attention actually means. Many media observers believe this environment has fundamentally changed how public stories develop. Nothing truly disappears. Instead, stories remain available to be rediscovered whenever new conversations emerge. That reality has become increasingly visible throughout the broader Sussex narrative. Many royal watchers believe audiences are no longer following isolated headlines. Instead, they are following a continuing story involving family, public life, reputation, media influence, and changing public expectations. That larger story gives every renewed discussion additional significance. As the debate continues evolving, many commentators believe another important question is beginning to emerge. Not simply why older stories return to public attention, but why the broader Sussex narrative continues generating such extraordinary emotional investment from audiences around the world. Because if that public fascination remains as powerful as it appears today, future discussions involving Harry and Meghan are likely to attract just as much attention as the current one. And according to many observers, the next chapter could arrive sooner than anyone expects. The only question is whether future developments will bring greater clarity, or simply create another wave of discussion that keeps one of the world's most closely watched royal stories firmly in the public spotlight. As the discussion continued expanding, many royal commentators began focusing on an entirely different aspect of the story. The conversation was no longer centered solely on older reports or Meghan's past social connections. Instead, attention gradually shifted toward the way modern media shapes public perception, and why stories involving Harry and Meghan continue dominating headlines years after they stepped away from working royal life. According to many analysts, that shift may be one of the most interesting parts of the entire debate. Why? Because today's royal stories are rarely driven by one event alone. They are driven by interpretation. Every interview, every documentary, every public appearance, every podcast, every business announcement, each becomes part of a much larger public conversation. Journalists provide context. Royal commentators offer opinions. Content creators present their own analysis. Social media users react immediately. Every stage adds another layer to the story. Many observers believe this process explains why discussions involving Harry and Meghan continue attracting extraordinary worldwide attention. People are often responding not only to current conversations, but also to years of previous headlines, previous interviews, previous documentaries, previous public appearances, previous media narratives. All of those memories influence how audiences interpret new discussions. The current debate appears to demonstrate that pattern perfectly. Some observers believe the renewed attention reflects continuing public interest in Meghan's journey before and after joining the royal family. Others argue it simply shows how digital platforms repeatedly surface familiar topics because they already attract large audiences. Neither interpretation has disappeared. And because both continue attracting support, the discussion remains highly active. What makes the situation particularly fascinating is that audiences increasingly discuss reactions rather than the original topic itself. Why did the discussion spread so quickly? Why did people immediately begin debating it? Why do Harry and Meghan remain among the most talked about public figures in the world? These questions have gradually become more important than the original conversation. Many media analysts believe the explanation involves several different factors working together. Global recognition, celebrity culture, royal history, digital media, public curiosity. Each contributes something different. Together, they create an environment where even familiar topics can quickly become worldwide conversations. Meanwhile, online platforms continue accelerating every stage of the process. An older story is mentioned. People share it. Others respond. Commentators publish analysis. Additional viewpoints emerge. Soon the conversation becomes much larger than where it started. Many observers believe this has fundamentally changed the way royal reporting works. Stories no longer disappear after one news cycle. Instead, they remain part of an evolving public narrative that can return whenever audiences reconnect them to current events. This phenomenon appears especially visible in discussions involving Harry and Meghan. Supporters often emphasize the couple's efforts to build an independent public life outside traditional royal roles. Critics frequently focus on the challenges and controversies that have surrounded that transition. Neutral observers examine how media coverage itself influences public opinion. Each perspective attracts a different audience. Each contributes to the broader narrative. As a result, clear consensus remains difficult to achieve. Different commentators continue emphasizing different themes. Different audiences continue reaching different conclusions. Different narratives continue competing for attention. Many royal watchers believe this ongoing competition between narratives is one reason the Sussex story continues generating remarkable public interest. People are not simply following headlines. They are following an evolving story about family, reputation, public identity, media influence, and changing expectations. Because that larger story continues developing, every renewed discussion feels connected to something much bigger. As the debate continues growing, many analysts believe another important question is beginning to emerge. Not simply why older stories resurface, but why audiences remain so emotionally invested in Harry and Meghan's public journey after all these years. According to many observers, that question may ultimately prove more significant than any individual headline. Because while specific stories eventually fade, public fascination with the broader Sussex narrative continues evolving. And as long as that fascination remains, each new chapter is likely to generate another round of discussion, interpretation, and debate across the royal watching world. As the discussion continued gaining momentum, many royal commentators began noticing that the conversation had evolved far beyond the original topic. What initially appeared to be a debate about Meghan's past public connections had gradually transformed into a much broader discussion about reputation, media narratives, and why the Sussex story continues capturing worldwide attention. According to many observers, that transformation may be the most significant part of the entire debate. The reason is simple. Stories involving Harry and Meghan rarely remain limited to one headline. Instead, they become connected to years of previous developments, previous interviews, previous documentaries, previous public appearances, previous business ventures, previous charitable projects, Every new discussion is immediately viewed through the lens of everything audiences already remember. Many analysts believe this accumulated history explains why conversations surrounding the Sussexes continue generating extraordinary engagement. People are rarely reacting to one story alone. They are reacting to an evolving narrative they have followed for years. A narrative that continues changing with every new chapter. The current discussion appears to demonstrate that reality perfectly. Some observers believe the renewed attention became significant because it entered an already active public conversation. Others believe the reaction says more about audience fascination than about the topic itself. Still others argue that the debate reflects the way digital media repeatedly amplifies familiar narratives, because they consistently generate engagement. Each explanation continues attracting support. And because none has clearly prevailed, the discussion remains highly active. What makes the situation particularly fascinating is the growing influence of public perception. Perception shapes interpretation. Interpretation shapes reaction. Reaction shapes future headlines. The cycle repeats over and over again. Many media analysts believe this cycle has become one of the defining characteristics of modern celebrity reporting. Stories no longer move in one direction. Instead, they constantly evolve through audience participation. A headline appears. People react. Commentators respond. Content creators publish analysis. Audiences compare different viewpoints. Before long, the original topic becomes only one part of a much larger public narrative. The current debate clearly reflects that process. Some audiences focus on Meghan. Others focus on Harry. Others analyze how media coverage influences public opinion. Others examine the role commentators play in shaping online discussions. Each perspective creates a different version of the story. And because those versions continue overlapping, the broader conversation keeps expanding. Meanwhile, social media continues accelerating every stage of the discussion. A familiar topic begins trending. Thousands of people begin sharing opinions. Content creators release videos. Commentators provide historical context. The story evolves into something much larger than where it began. Many observers believe this environment has fundamentally changed how audiences experience royal news. People are no longer passive readers. They actively compare viewpoints. They challenge assumptions. They share interpretations. And in doing so, they help shape the public narrative itself. This ongoing participation explains why certainty often remains difficult to achieve. Different audiences continue reaching different conclusions. Different commentators continue emphasizing different themes. Different narratives continue competing for attention. Many royal watchers believe this competition between narratives is one reason the Sussex story continues attracting extraordinary worldwide interest. People are not simply following current events. They are following an evolving narrative involving family, public life, reputation, media influence, and changing public expectations. That larger narrative gives every renewed discussion additional significance. As the conversation continues evolving, many analysts believe another important question is beginning to emerge. Not simply why older stories continue resurfacing, but why the broader Sussex narrative continues resonating with audiences across the world after so many years. Because if that fascination remains as powerful as it appears today, future discussions involving Harry and Meghan are likely to attract just as much attention as the current one. And according to many commentators, the next chapter may arrive sooner than anyone expects. The only question is whether future developments will provide greater clarity, or simply create another wave of interpretations that keeps one of the world's most closely followed royal stories firmly in the public spotlight. After all the headlines, online discussions, commentary, and competing interpretations, many royal watchers believe the conversation has now reached its most revealing stage. Not because definitive answers have emerged, but because the debate has highlighted something much larger than the original topic. It has highlighted the extraordinary power of public curiosity. Years after Prince Harry and Meghan Markle stepped away from working royal duties, they remain among the most closely followed public figures in the world. Their interviews continue making headlines. Their public appearances generate worldwide discussion. Their business ventures attract constant analysis. And almost every new development quickly becomes part of a much larger public conversation. Many analysts believe this continued attention is not simply about individual headlines. It is about the broader Sussex narrative. People have followed Harry's journey for decades. They have watched Meghan enter the royal family. They have witnessed major interviews, documentaries, charitable projects, and business ventures. Because audiences feel connected to that larger story, every renewed discussion immediately becomes part of something much bigger. The current debate appears to demonstrate this reality perfectly. What began as renewed online conversations about Meghan's past public associations gradually evolved into a broader discussion about reputation, media influence, audience expectations, and the continuing fascination surrounding the Sussex family. The original topic became only one element of the story. The reactions became another. And the broader public conversation became something even more significant. Many commentators believe this evolution reflects a fundamental change in the way modern media operates. Stories no longer disappear when one news cycle ends. Instead, they continue evolving through audience participation. People react. People debate. People share opinions. People create videos. Every reaction adds another layer to the narrative. As a result, public conversations remain active long after the original topic first appeared. This pattern has become especially visible throughout the broader Sussex story. Different audiences continue reaching different conclusions. Some believe these discussions reflect genuine public interest. Others believe they demonstrate how digital platforms repeatedly amplify familiar narratives because they consistently generate engagement. Still others argue that both explanations are equally important. Each perspective continues attracting support. Each perspective continues generating discussion. And each perspective helps keep the broader story alive. What makes the situation particularly fascinating is that uncertainty remains at the center of everything. People continue asking questions. How will Harry and Meghan's public journey continue evolving? Will future projects reshape public perception? Will new interviews change existing narratives? Or will familiar discussions simply return in different forms? At the moment, nobody knows. And according to many analysts, that uncertainty may be one of the biggest reasons audiences remain so engaged. Because unanswered questions create curiosity. Curiosity creates attention. Attention keeps public narratives alive. Many royal watchers believe this broader dynamic explains why discussions involving Harry and Meghan consistently receive worldwide coverage. The audience is not simply following isolated headlines. The audience is following an evolving story involving family, identity, public life, media influence, reputation, and changing expectations. That story continues developing with every new chapter. Perhaps that is the biggest lesson from the entire debate. Not the original topic. Not the competing interpretations. Not even the public reactions. But the realization that fascination with the Sussex story remains remarkably powerful. As long as that fascination continues, future developments will generate new headlines. New discussions will emerge. New interpretations will compete for attention. And new questions will continue shaping the public conversation. Which brings us to the biggest question of all. What happens next? Will future events reshape public perceptions? Will new projects change the narrative? Or will the same conversations continue returning with each new chapter? For now, nobody can answer with certainty. But according to many observers, that uncertainty has become part of the story itself. And as long as unanswered questions remain, audiences are likely to keep watching, keep debating, and keep searching for answers. Because in the world of royal commentary, public curiosity rarely disappears. It simply waits for the next chapter. And according to many commentators, that next chapter involving Harry, Meghan, and the royal family may arrive sooner than many people expect. As always, the conversation doesn't end here. Now it's your turn. What do you think about the latest debate and the renewed attention surrounding Harry and Meghan? Do you believe older stories continue resurfacing because of genuine public interest? Or do you think media coverage and online discussions often keep familiar narratives alive far longer than expected? Share your thoughts in the comments below because this remains one of the most talked about royal stories in the world, and every opinion brings a new perspective to the discussion. Whether you closely follow royal news, enjoy analyzing media narratives, or simply have your own view of the Sussex story, we'd love to hear what you think. If you enjoyed this in-depth royal analysis, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our latest royal updates, trending stories, and exclusive commentary. And stay tuned, because new interviews, fresh discussions, and unexpected developments continue to emerge. The next chapter involving Harry, Meghan, and the royal family could spark another major wave of debate, and we'll be here to break down every angle as it unfolds. Until then, thank you for watching, keep the conversation going in the comments, stay curious, and we'll see you in the next video.